Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the very first episode. Really excited to be here. The Ethernet Community Ventures, as it's now called. The Ethernet Community is introducing to you EnCHockey, a weekly NHL breakdown of statistical analysis for the week that was. Just as a brief little thing before we get too far into things, every week is from Saturday to Friday. So each episode will be filmed either Friday night or Saturday morning and be dropping on Fridays, hopefully before games start every day. Now, the reason why I wanted and the name of the show, NHL Weekly, obviously, is the name of the show. Every single week we will be going over the week that was in statistics, as well as some news from the previous week. Some news, not too much news, but we do actually have some pretty fun news to look at today, even though the season has not started yet. I am recording this before the first ever game of the preseason of 2022-2023 season starts between Ottawa and Toronto. Their first of two matches tonight. So fresh, clean slate. Really hoping to have a really fun time here on YouTube in my second channel under the Ethernet Community banner. If you're looking for something else to watch that is pro wrestling and UFC, another statistics show hybrid, and you also just so happen to like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Switch, then I encourage you to find our Ethernet Community wrestling page, where each week we have a weekly show on Thursdays called United Through Wrestling's. United Through Wrestling. I'm a little nervous if you can't tell. I haven't been on screen in a while. It's been since January 30th, I believe, since I have recorded a video. Today being September 24th. So it's been about 9 months, almost 8 or 9 months since I've done anything. With that all being said, I wanted to take a second to use this episode before the season starts to introduce myself, Andrew Smith, hello, and introduce this brand new venture, this brand new channel that we're on. So each episode is going to start a little bit like this, a little awkward, a little fuzzy, and then we're going to get straight into the news. The news. Holy crap. That took a while. So the news that we'll be talking about today, just to get our feet a little wet, is the fact that we had in the month of September so far 7 retirements before the season started. 3 of them happening on the same day. We had Keith Yandles, Zdeno Chara, and PK Subban. 3 pretty big names, pretty hefty names, pretty controversial names in some cases. And yeah, so between July 12th and now, we've had 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 retirements in this year. Duncan Keith being the first, PK Subban being technically the last on September 20th. I believe that is the only news we're going to get into today, other than the fact that the season is starting. We have, I believe, 6 games on... Oh, no, sorry. We have a couple games tonight, and then we have 4 games tonight, with 2 of them being split squad games. And then we also have, between now and the 8th of October, we have 110, if my calculations are correct, 110 preseason games from all 32 teams. Some of them being split squad games. I still count them as separate games, even though it's the same team. It's 2 separate squads from the same team. with a potential, I believe, for some players to play in both games, I think. Excuse me. I am going to turn this mic down just a So the 9th and the 10th we have off, just shooting a little bit ahead. The 9th and the 10th we have off, and then the official first week of the regular season is on the 11th. First regular season games start that day, and we have 2 of them, 6 on the 12th, 10 on the 13th, and 4 games on the 14th, for a grand total of only 20 games in the first week of what we will be looking at through statistical analysis. So as I keep saying statistics, one of the things that I do want to show you today that you're not necessarily going to see very often on this show is going to be the actual statistical analysis part of what I'm doing here. So this is going to look a little crazy, going to look a little complicated, but I'm going to try my best to describe to you today what it is that we are going to be looking at every day throughout the season. Now, first off, possibly, most likely the most important is strictly the week-to-week weekly point totals. Now, you will see that here. I know it's a little small, but that's why you're not going to be seeing this one. So just as a small upside, each week you're going to see a couple slides that are going to represent what is shown here, so that we get a bigger look at everything, so that you don't have to like squint if you are interested in seeing what it is that I'm talking about. Each of the 32 teams is represented here. We've got wins, losses, shootout, or overtime losses. Obviously, wins are 2 points, shootout, overtime losses are 1 point, losses are 0 points, and then it will calculate all that into point totals and how many games were played in that week. That way, I can just run down Anaheim Ducks, 10 points, 10 points, 5 games played, meaning that they won all 5 games. I can go into a little bit if somebody is on a win, it had an entire week of wins, I will point that out. If they had an entire week of losses, I will definitely point that out. If somebody had an abnormal amount of shootout losses, anything like that, that I find interesting. That's one of the reasons why I'm starting this channel, actually, is because I know there's got to be more people out there that are interested in the statistical analysis part as much as I am. Now, moving over, we have these are incorrect. It's supposed to say 2022-2023, but I'll change that later. 2022-2023 Week 1 Season Division Standings. Now, the season division standings, as much as it's fun to look at the stats little drop box on NHL.com, for me it's interesting to see the progression of those stats. So if we look at the stats, if you pull up the NHL app on your phone and you go to stats, it's one of the 5 bars at the bottom. You'll see Connor McDavid points 123, Austin Matthews goals 60, assists 85 for Huberdeau, plus minus Goudreau with the Calgary Flames 64, plus 64, and then power play goals, short-handed goals, all this stuff. What's interesting for me is to be able to go in and see, okay, so that was the end totals, but what if there was a point in the season, pun intended, a point in the season when somebody else held that #1 spot. So that's something that we're going to be looking at throughout the season, both on a divisional standings viewpoint as well as a wild card standings viewpoint. So we're going to be looking at the Eastern and Western Conference mushed together, or the Central Division, Pacific Division mashed together, Metropolitan and Atlantic mashed together, and then season league standings. So if everybody remembers last year, Detroit somehow, as a Detroit's fan, somehow we ended up at like the top of the entire league in the first like 2 weeks or the first month, just because we had an unbelievable like first week. We did not keep up that trajectory, but the last thing that we are going to be looking at week to week is literally every single game in order. So I will be able to look at this and show and tell you exactly which game. And the reason I thought of this one specifically is everybody always talks about best looking teams after 20 games. So the issue with those statistics is sometimes people will do a video about it and talk about first 20, first 10, first 25 or whatever for the 41 game split, stuff like that. But most teams, not all teams are playing equal amounts every single night. So what I would like to do is when we get to 10, 20, 30, 41, if we get to those points and teams haven't played yet, I'm going to wait until every team has played 10 games, every team has played 20 games, and that way I have it all logged here so that just in case a team has played 2 more games since then, I can go back and say, well, by the 20th game they were 7-13 or 7-2-11 or whatever. Whatever the stats are for that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. There's a potential that I will be doing scoring and goaltending throughout the season. I don't know if that's something I'm going to be able to keep up on every single week, but like I said, at certain points you're going to see stuff like these ones where it's going to have each team in the standings. It's basically just going to be exactly what's here, but in a more nicer looking way. And bigger way so that you guys can see it. So if any of you have actually seen any of the videos on my other channel, the wrestling channel, whoops, there you go, jeez, you'll know that I'm big into trying to make sure that everything looks nice enough, crisp enough to make sense. And that's one thing that I'm going to try my best to do on the channel. And one thing that I will mention now is that the Patreon for Ethernet Community Wrestling, the wrestling side of the Ethernet community, as now the tiers that are already available on there now have a hockey related an EnCHockey related section in there, so that you can go in if you're interested in the Patreon. You can go in, click on a tier. I believe the lowest is a $3 tier and the highest is a $9 tier. Not trying to break the bank for anybody, just trying to make it so that I have an ability to put the time and the effort that I want to put into this, that I can. So other ways to contribute to the channel, like, share, subscribe, and write comments. I would love to be able to speak with you guys. I believe there is a Reddit page somewhere for ENC. I will have to look into that, but we do have a Instagram account as well for both channels if you are interested in going in and looking at that. And I don't want this video to be super long because I know that I don't want to bore people to death, especially because we don't really have anything to talk about. But I'm really excited. This isn't going to be a super polished show, obviously, as you can see. There's gonna be times where I'm super excited, jazzed up to do this, and there's gonna be other times, especially if and if you know me at all, you know that I've have some physical health issues that will cause me possibly to have to postpone like another day or put it out later in the day, and I will try my best to announce those on Instagram. So that's another way to do that. And then as we progress throughout the year and throughout hopefully the next couple years, as I hopefully continue to do this and grow this channel. I want to make sure that you guys can get to know me so that it feels more personable. The one thing about me that I will say today is, as you can see by the hat and that back there, I'm a Red Wings fan, been a Red Wings fan all my life, and probably going to be wearing some sort of Red Wings memorabilia throughout the year. I do also have a Islanders jersey. It's got Tavares on it, but I've got an Islanders jersey. And hopefully at some point you'll be able to see other personalities on this channel. I know plenty of people that love wrestling, and if I can get them on this channel, I definitely will, to get their input on everything. But as it pertains to today, this is the first episode of Ethernet Community Hockey, EnCHockey, the NHL Weekly show that will be dropping every Saturday, hopefully throughout the NHL season, and could potentially grow a little bit more as the year goes by. The one last thing that I do want to say, if I can pull it up real quick, is what is actually on the Patreon channel, because I would love for you guys to know what is available. So for the $3 tier, the perks are being recognized on NHL Weekly every week as a Patreon member. For the $5 tier, it is same exact thing, and a participation in a fan event that I have not yet decided on. Could potentially be a NHL Weekly Hall of Fame, or NHL Monthly Hall of Fame, I guess, or something else. And if you have any ideas on what we could do for that, please definitely let me know. Access to the annual end of year awards polling on this channel, on both channels, obviously, where we will be doing annual end of year awards for who everybody on the channel seems to think was the best team throughout the year, most valuable player for the preseason, or the season or the postseason. I'm really excited for the exclusive Stanley Cup Playoff Bracket Challenge prizes that I'm hoping to do. We will be building a bracket challenge through the NHL bracket challenge that they do at the end of the year, and the number one ranked person in our thing, in our in our bracket challenge specifically, we'll be getting a prize. Obviously, everything else that I just mentioned is in that tier and every other tier. So please go check that out. I would really appreciate if you could, at the very least, just look and see if there's anything that you're interested in. Shush, phone. As I said, not going to be super polished, but we're going to have a lot of fun, hopefully, and we're going to learn some stuff along the way. So yeah, I hope that I see you again soon. Next Saturday, we're going to have 20 games. On the 15th, there are 14 games, so we're already close to that 20 game mark in the first day of the next week. So that's going to be fun. But I'm looking forward to getting this going, warming up as the preseason, all 110 stinking games in the preseason go on, and then from there we will work from there. As somebody upstairs at my apartment complex turns on their water, I will say goodbye for now and hope to see you again soon.